Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the southeast. Nurses stage a 48-hour walkout disrupting major hospitals in Sussex and community health services in Kent.
You're asking them to take on £50,000 debt and the rest to do their training, and what do they get at the end of it? Awful pay, not enough to live on.
Preparing for take-off, planes will fly here again from 2025, say the owners of Manston after a second legal challenge fails.
The new technology described as game-changing in the fight against water pollution. But how does it work?
And we'll have an update on the plight of a pair of micro pigs dumped on the roadside on the Romney Marsh. Good evening. Nurses have begun 48 hours of strike action, disrupting services at major hospitals in Sussex for the first time and also community healthcare in Kent.
They want a pay rise of inflation plus 5%. Unions say it's fair and the only way to stop nurses leaving the profession in droves. But the government says it's unrealistic. Sarah Saunders has more details.
For the first time, nurses in Sussex joined national strike action today. Those on the picket line outside the Royal Sussex Hospital in Brighton say they're not just calling for better pay, they are also defending the NHS.
Right now, as an emergency nurse practitioner, on our emergency departments, you have corridors with over 40 patients on them, with 2 nurses taking care of them. That's not the care that we want to provide. We have patients dying in corridors. So this strike is not just for our pay, this strike is for all of us. It's for our patients, it's for our NHS.
Inside, nurses in intensive and emergency care are expected to work, and patients with medical appointments are advised to attend unless told otherwise. On the picket line in Hastings, Antonia Berylson says nurses are struggling. The Royal College of Nursing is calling for a pay rise at 5% above inflation, though today indicated they would accept a lower offer.
Most difficult thing is seeing my colleagues suffering, seeing nurses crying before their shifts. Nurses need to be well rested, but they're just simply picking up shifts just to survive.
What do we want?
Fair pay!
When do we want it?
Now!
In Kent, the main hospitals are operating as usual today, but Kent Community Health Foundation is on strike. That's affecting some services in the community and community hospitals. Picketing outside Sevenoaks Hospital, nurses usually offering care in patients' homes.
Young people wanting to do their healthcare assistants, wanting to do their nursing training, you're asking them to take on £50,000 debt and the rest to do their training, and what do they get at the end of it? Awful pay, not enough to live on.
Some people are saying that the demand for the pay rise is too big. What do you say to that?
I don't think it is, because we've been 10 years under a Conservative government that hasn't given us a realistic pay rise. So I don't think it's unrealistic at this point.
Patients continue to arrive for scheduled appointments here, and the minor injuries unit is staffed.
I feel sorry if they're not getting the right money, but I think they're endangering people's lives, and I don't think striking is the way to go.
I totally support the staff here for going out today on strike, but just hope that the situation can get resolved quickly.
Health Secretary Steve Barclay says nurses' pay demands are not affordable.
Well, the government's position is clear that the pay review bodies are the right way to balance the affordability to your viewers who face many cost of living pressures themselves in terms of their own jobs, their own livelihoods, and balance those through an independent process alongside the needs of the NHS.
Next month, on February the 6th, thousands of ambulance workers and nurses will go on strike on the same day. One of the biggest strikes in NHS history. Sarah Saunders, ITV News.
In other news, streets have been closed and homes flooded in parts of New Haven. Drains were overwhelmed following the recent downpours, with people urged to avoid the Denton Road area. Some people have blamed construction of a nearby housing development. Lewes Town Council said their planning process included consultation with neighbours and with stakeholders.
Before I left the house and I was going to school with my daughter, I've noticed like literally 3 puddles here. It was along the stairs here, there was another one there, and then here for the the doors, and then when I came back from school, I've noticed that the floor was actually literally flooded.
Yesterday morning, disabled son went to the toilet in his wet room. The toilet started overflowing when we flushed. Come out to look in the manhole, and it was all overflowing onto the front garden and on the side path of the house.
Underneath my house is going all the water, all the sewage, because they've got the events, so it has to go somewhere. And now it's going to next door neighbour as well. The sewage is the worst bit because we can't use the toilet anymore. And when my insurance goes up, I will tell the council to pay, because I will not pay it.
Firefighters are scaling back their presence at a fire in Haywards, Heath, which broke out in the early hours. The derelict property on Bolner Farm Lane caught light just after 5 a.m. Firefighters are now making the site safe. People living nearby are being told to keep their doors and windows closed.
A businessman who grew magic mushrooms with a street value of nearly £10,000 at a Kent castle has been spared jail. Maidstone Crown Court heard that police found the Class A drug in Simon Giles's bathroom in the south wing of Lullingstone Castle in Ensford. He told police they had a transformational effect on his mental health and he would microdose on a daily basis. He was given a suspended 8-month jail sentence.
Planes will fly from Manston again in 2025, boosting the Kent economy and creating thousands of jobs.
Well, that's what the owners of the site say after opponents lost a second legal bid to block the plans. Well, again, Glenn Tomset is live for us at Manston this evening. And Glenn, the owners presumably pretty delighted with the High Court ruling.
Yes, indeed, Matt. River Oak, who own the facility here, want to turn Manston, as we know, into a cargo hub. That is destined to happen in the year 2026. Now, the question of will they, won't they, can they, can't they, has been going on, as we know, for some years. But yesterday took an interesting turn. The denial of a judicial review into the proposed reopening here brings an end to a story that began last September. A second bid to overthrow the government's decision to grant permission was denied yesterday. The first decision to push forward consent order was announced in 2020.
This is really exciting. I mean, I remember when the airport was closed in 2014. We've been waiting for this day for it to get started again. It's been a long haul. But yeah, I'm just waiting for good things. And also there's a chance of passenger services, because an airport obviously lends itself to passenger services as well. But the River Oak plan is predicated on freight, but I'm sure other things will come on the back of that as well. The timeline of what to do with Manston Airport stretches as far back as 2013. For River Oak, the airport site owners, the future is now looking positive.
It's a huge relief after a lot of delay. Finally, we're in the clear and we can get ahead with the plans that we wanted to start with 3 years ago. So it's not a time to gloat or to crow. It's a time to say, OK, that's behind us now. We have 3 years of intensive work ahead of us. The opponents of night flights have won in the sense that there won't be night flights. There's a curfew from 2300 till 0600, so there won't be any night flights. And the cargo flights will be during the day, and the night flights are no longer an issue.
Despite the prospect of jobs and development of a cargo hub, the plans continue to meet with a fair amount of opposition, saying it would bring irreparable harm to the people, environment and the economy of East Kent.
It's not the final chapter by any means, and opposition hasn't gone away. I mean, I get residents writing into me constantly worried about, flights 6 times an hour from 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. Night flights are proposed as well. They're in there even though they're said that they aren't going to be, and people are rightly worried about this.
We've been here before when we've seen the aeroplanes flying across here so low.
Very low.
And so, that's a bit worrying, and the pollution. And the noise, obviously. But obviously it's going to make work for the locals.
I mean, Ramsgate needs a bit of investment, and that would be a way of investing in the people of Ramsgate.
I have no issues on that. When we moved here, we knew there was an airport, so why should we worry now?
So, Glenn, some mixed views in your report there, and some more reaction on this just in from the local MP.
Yes, indeed, some mixed views, as you say there. And we've had this just in from Sir Roger Gale, the MP for North Thanet.
I think it's a very significant step in the right direction. It has taken a very long time to get to where we now are, but I hope and believe we can now really start work to reopen Manston Airport as a freight hub, to get the investment in, millions and millions of pounds of it, and to create the jobs on the back of that investment.
Well, it's not quite the end of the road. The challengers now have 5 days if they wish to ask the court to reconsider the decision in an oral hearing. It's not clear tonight whether they'll exercise that right, but if they do and the court sticks with its decision, that will be the end of the road.
OK, Glenn, we will keep an eye on updates, of course, but for now, thank you.
Next tonight, the mental health charity West Sussex Mind wants people to check on others during what is a very difficult winter. They say the combination of cold weather, dark nights and post-Christmas blues leads to a huge increase in mental health issues at this time of year.
Well, charities are exploring how a simple app could help save lives. A simple click could keep those isolated and living alone connected to the outside world. With more, here's Chloe Oliver.
Let's press the OK button.
This has quickly become part of Patricia's daily routine.
There we go.
Every morning, she clicks a button to let people know she's safe and well. If she doesn't, an alert goes out to a nearby charity.
Well, I do live alone, and this technology will be a godsend to me because I'll have the security there of knowing that there's somebody on the end of the line. I don't press that at 9 o'clock in the morning, which is the time I've given, or by 9 o'clock in the morning, then an alert will go out that I need help.
As well as helping the elderly, it's hoped it could also help those struggling with their mental health.
Just wouldn't want it to happen to ever again to anybody else, and for them to go through what I've been through.
Shane's sister Natalie died at home last year. The coroner was unable to say if Natalie took her own life, but she had previously struggled with her mental health. Her son Harry was then left alone for days and later died from dehydration.
I think it's an amazing idea. It would have definitely made you would have saved Harry's life. Well, indefinitely, because the app would have just bleeped up straight away to Women Out West, and then they could have got local authorities around straight away.
It has a special chip in it, so it doesn't need Wi-Fi because it connects to any network, which is really helpful because a lot of our vulnerable women don't have the internet in their homes. Our communities have changed. We aren't the community we used to be where we check in on each other all the time. We need to move with the times, and technology is a way forward for keeping everyone safe.
But until this technology becomes widespread, mental health charity West Sussex Mind wants us to check in on our friends and family.
We all know that at this time of year it's a really difficult time for lots of people, actually we also know that having a conversation with somebody who cares about you, who's going to listen to how you're feeling and what you're going through, can make a huge difference.
No more, just one more.
But for those who simply don't have anyone else, it's hoped this type of technology could save lives.
Hello, Patricia.
Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
Such a fantastic idea, isn't it? And you're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Coming up.
Cleaning up their act. Southern Water showcases technology designed to prevent sea and river pollution.
And you can find more on today's stories on our website. Just go to itv.com/Meridian. You can always call us, the number 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter and on Instagram.
In other news, a man has been arrested after several shops in Gillingham High Street had their windows broken. Kent Police received a report that a person had been seen using a metal pole and a brick to target companies in the town on Sunday. A 44-year-old man from Gillingham was arrested on suspicion of burglary and a fray.
A council tax rise of almost 5% is being considered for Brighton and Hove. In a meeting tomorrow, the City Council will discuss a hike of 4.99%, adding nearly £90 a year to a Band D home. The authority says it's looking to raise tax by the maximum permitted to try and plug a funding gap of £20 million.
Canterbury has been recognised as one of the top 10 places in Britain to drive positive change thanks to the Wilding project in Blean. The city has been praised for the efforts being made to combat the climate and biodiversity crisis, in particular the Wilding initiative involving the release of bison into West Blean and Thorndon Woods.
Next tonight, campaigners concerned about gaps in sick pay rules are calling for period pains to be taken more seriously in the workplace and say the government should reassess workers' rights.
Well, Spain is set to introduce groundbreaking rules that would give women who suffer with severe pains 3-day paid leave a month. But could it be introduced here? Catherine Walker explores the issue.
Pregnant with her first child, 30-year-old Keisha is relieved to get a break from her painful periods. Every month they took a huge toll on her mental and physical health. But she says a lack of support at her old job caused major problems.
Because I worked in a job where I had to go in, and it just was so embarrassing sometimes where I'd have to go to the toilet every half an hour. I couldn't concentrate. I was just tired all the time. And then I was just getting punished for it all the time, getting put in disciplinaries.
So what difference would a menstrual leave policy have made to you?
I would have got some support, I would have got some help. I feel like I wouldn't have been judged as much because they would have understood what was going on.
In an effort to support women like Keisha, Spain could become the first European country to offer paid medical leave for people with periods. A draft bill says anyone suffering from extreme menstrual cramps could have 3 to 5 days of paid leave a month with a doctor's note. This is different to the law in the UK, where the first 3 days of statutory sick leave are unpaid.
For factories in this country, you have a clocking in, clocking out system, and people are given lavatory leave. And, if women have to use that, it can take a long period of time. So it makes a difference to people's incomes, especially with the rising costs that we're experiencing at the moment.
With a quarter of women struggling with period pain that affects their work, campaigners want to see research into better policies in the UK.
Some people do have very heavy or extreme period pain, and enabling them to have either time off work or flexible working to be able to deal with the conditions that they have most effectively would be a really positive thing.
But in Hove, HR expert Amy White says period policies must be inclusive.
From a wellbeing point of view, it's definitely to be celebrated, but there are potentially some pitfalls. And I think if the UK were considering any similar legislation, there might be some things to think about around how that it'll affect gender equality, whether it might actually be slightly damaging. Will employers think they might not employ women to avoid the leave?
In a statement, the government said there's no plans to introduce menstrual leave in the UK. But they do encourage employers to be compassionate and flexible to the needs of their staff. The lack of legislation is a blow for campaigners like Keisha. But she says she won't stop fighting to create a better working environment for the next generation. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
And the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. With more details, here's Lucrezia Millarini.
Police launch a major operation to vet every single officer in the UK. Following the horrific crimes of David Carrick, there are fears that other serving officers could have slipped through the net.
The police must address the failings in this case, restore public confidence and ensure the safety of women and girls.
Also ahead, as nurses begin another 2-day walkout, no sign of a breakthrough in negotiations. And
Goff is there, but against herself.
Emma Raducanu out of the Australian Open, but British #1 Cameron Norrie safely through to the third round. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, the weather forecast coming up shortly, but you don't need to be a meteorologist to know that heavy rainfall, flooding and pollution have made it a pretty miserable start to 2023 for some parts of the southeast. But Southern Water is installing new devices which they say could be something of a game changer.
Yes, they're being placed in sewers to reduce the blockages that cause drains to overflow. £15 million is being invested in high-tech monitors to tackle so-called fatbergs, which is when fat, wet wipes and plastics clump together in the system, as Tom Savidis explains.
This is what happens when things that shouldn't get thrown down the drain. These fatbergs clog up sewers, causing them to overflow, leading to polluted water flooding homes, businesses and the environment. Thousands of these digital monitoring devices from Southern Water are now alerting engineers to where blockages are likely to occur.
Blockages from the sewer network, which are typically formed by sewer abuse, from wet wipes to fats, oils and greases that get flushed down the sewer network that shouldn't be there. The system's able to tell us when that sewer starts behaving outside of the norm. That gives us that early warning to go and respond before it interrupts customer service, causes any flooding or pollution to the environment.
Southern Water has installed 22,000 of these monitors in its sewers right across its network. At the moment, more than half are sending back data. By the end of February, most of them will be live. Smart sewer technology transmits real-time information on water levels. Rainfall is also taken into account. Technicians who monitor the network warn engineers about potential blockages. They're then dispatched to clear out the sewer before it overflows.
They'll proactively jet the sewer. And by doing that, what we're doing is we're getting there before it impacts the customer and the environment, because we're not waiting for a customer to call us to say, Southern Water, your sewer's backing up. It happens much earlier on in the journey.
Southern Water, along with other water companies, has been criticised in the past for releasing sewage and dirty rainwater into the sea and rivers. Some homeowners also blame blocked or faulty drains for recent flooding. This new technology will go some way in dealing with pollution, a digital solution to an age-old problem. Tom Savidis, ITV News, Worthing.
Now, on Monday, we told you about the plight of a pair of micro pigs that have been dumped on the roadside on the Romney Marsh.
Yes, we had a lot of reaction to this story, and that is why. Beautiful pictures. Well, a motorist rescued the distressed animals, took them home and then to an animal sanctuary. We are happy to report that the sanctuary has been swamped with offers to rehome them, and we're not surprised. Having said that, I wouldn't have them.
We've had a fantastic response on social media, Facebook and emails as well, and the phone's been non-stop, so if anyone's trying to get through to us, we apologise, but it's been really busy because of the two famous little piggies, which we have named Dawny and Dixie. We've had plenty of offers, probably over 900 offers we've had. Hopefully they'll move into their new home in the next week or two, and then we'll do a home check, so somebody will go out there and do the home check and check everything's fine and suited for them.
I think they're gorgeous. I wonder how big they grow.
I don't know, but they are very cute.
They are the cutest pigs I've seen, I have to say.
Today, anyway, certainly. Let's get a check on the weather forecast this week. See how things are shaping up for the hours ahead. With the details for us this evening, here's Sally Williams.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there, a very good evening to you. Hope you had a good day, albeit another cold one. There's even frost on the beach this morning. We've got further frost and icy patches coming over the next few days, overnight and into the daytime. Mostly dry in our setup, but if we do get the odd isolated shower, possibly a wintry one, that could well add to ice on roads and pavements. And it's staying chilly, but there are some sunny spells around to cheer things up a touch. So let's go back to the story for tonight. With the sunshine out of the way, the temperatures plummeting and that widespread frost forming quite early on as we go through the evening overnight. So a frozen scene by tomorrow morning. I mentioned the risk of some ice. Do watch out for that. Our temperatures down to -3 or -4. That's in the towns and cities, so even colder in some rural spots. So when you wake up on Thursday morning, it will be chilly, and that frost hanging around for a time. But the good news is we have got some quite decent weather on the cards, some sunshine heading our way. There'll be a bit of cloud coming and going. Fairly light winds tomorrow, but those temperatures still barely getting up into the low single figures, highs of 4 or 5 at best. And if you've got plans for the evening, well, again, mostly dry, could catch a shower here or there, but it is going to be really chilly as that frost sets in again. So let's take a look at our high tide times. Dover 8:18 in the morning and nearly 9 o'clock at night. Right, the outlook, well, not a huge amount of change. Sunshine heading our way, but we have got things staying very cold, particularly at night time with those sharp frosts. Bit more cloud perhaps as we head through the weekend, and the temperatures coming up a little bit, but not much. That's it for now. I'll see you later on. Cheerio.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
-5, that's pretty chilly, but at least it's sunny. At least
I guess you call it fresh. If you're
fresh,
positive spin on it.
Just got to get a warm coat. Now, in just a moment, the ITV Evening News with Lucrezia Millarini.
That's it from us for this evening. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Good night.